Seekers are scary folks.
Boat people in our backyard.
Fears a new wave of asylum seekers could spread a deadly disease.
The Gillard government has been accused of rolling out the welcome mat for asylum seekers who've been acting like pirates.
Yeah, diseased pirates. I mean, I can understand why voters are so frightened of these asylum seekers. I found one in my backyard.
Arr! I be spreading AIDS in your backyard. It is a very complicated issue, though. There's those pushing for onshore processing, there's those pushing for offshore processing, and there's those who advocate both at once.
I personally believe in onshore processing, but it costs lives and it was wrong.
I completely agree with you, Paul, but I completely disagree.
Now, the offshore proponents say we need to discourage refugees from coming here in the first place. But how?
Well, the government's solution is to do this.
You need to send a strong message.
They're going to send a strong message to people that an unknown number of people from maybe some particular backgrounds is subject to being sent to Nauru from time to time for some potential duration.
It's a very strong message. Such a strong message, the government has even put it on signs all around Australia's maritime border. Arr, that'd be a strong message. Arr.
But not a strong performance.
No.
But look, I mean, since they reopened Nauru, there have been... It's all right, you'll get over it.
No, it's not.
Since they reopened Nauru, there have been all kinds of concerns about the conditions there. I mean, after all, everyone knows asylum seekers are accustomed to living like kings.
Inside Australia's refugee resorts, all expenses paid, 5-star living with all the perks.
Welcome to Asylum Seeker Town, where the refugees are living better than the locals.
They were very luxurious looking bars those refugees were locked behind, I thought, but I don't know why people are whinging about Nauru in the first place. It sounds awesome. You get to stay in overcrowded tents in the heat. It's like Splendour in the Grass, except you don't have to listen to shit Aussie hip-hop.
They are living better than us.
They are. Anyway, the opposition solution is to turn the boats back, but the government is very opposed to this.
I am not going to risk the lives of young Australians on a policy that won't work.
Which must be particularly frustrating for the person who advocated that policy.
We think that it is important that we do everything we can to disrupt people smuggling, and we think turning boats around that are seaworthy, that can make the return journey and are in international waters fits in with that.
Yeah, so Gillard's for turning the boats back and against turning back the boats.
Makes sense to me.
Yes, well, as you know, it's yet another strong message from Gillard. So much so they've had to put out more warning signs around our borders.
Meanwhile, Channel 7's been toying with their own solution, and that's to ignore the problem entirely.
Now, on the day that other networks covered 100 refugees dying from a capsized boat near Java, 7 News in Sydney just couldn't find room for it in their bulletin, and understandably so when they had this compelling scoop on Nathan Hindmarsh's arse. Go away.
Arr! I ignored my terrible accent and it'd still be here! It's not getting any better.
Oh, what a shame. You think there's a refugee problem. Go on with his acting. But don't despair, because one beautiful mind has engineered the ultimate solution, and it's known as the Henry solution.
Yeah. Paul Henry hit upon the idea that if you treat refugees worse than they're treated in war-torn dictatorships, they won't want to come to Australia. It's so easy.
First of all, he deals with the people smugglers.
We need to gun down these people that are promoting this.
Oh.
You know, we need to gun down these people smugglers. That's what we need to do.
Look, I know it sounds harsh, but he's talking about people smugglers there. They're the bad guys.
Yeah, no, they are. I mean, for the asylum seekers themselves, he has a much kinder approach.
If they knew that we were going to shoot them, say, and obviously we wouldn't do that, but if they knew that the moment they arrived in Australia, we were going to gun them down on the beaches, if they knew that was going to happen, they wouldn't get in the boat in the first place.
Yeah, well, you know, they wouldn't. I mean, they also wouldn't get on the boat because the people smugglers have already been gunned down.
You might notice there, though, part of the Henry solution is to come up with these brilliant strategies and then add, obviously we're not going to do that, which is a great shame, because the solutions just go on and on.
Now, I know we would never do this, and I'm not condoning it, but if you saw women and children being whipped as they got offshore in Nauru, that is the kind of thing that sends a strong message as they're pushed into holes on Nauru.
Not as strong a message as it sends to your psychiatrist, Paul.
Yeah, but unfortunately, not everyone understands Paul's brilliance. Like when he offered this innovative solution for refugee hunger strikes,
So I sit here listening to this thinking, let them starve. I know that's a very cruel thing to say.
You know, and people heard that and they thought it was a very cruel thing to say. So Paul returned the next day to tell them how mistaken they were.
People have interpreted my comments on breakfast yesterday morning regarding asylum seekers and hunger strikes inaccurately. Some people believe I was implying that asylum seekers on hunger strike should die. I'm genuinely sorry if I gave that impression.
Yeah, I just can't imagine how people might have gotten that impression.
There's nothing that sends a stronger message than a few asylum seekers dying of starvation.
I don't know, you know, not that he thinks that should happen.
No, of course not. Look, I can see how it was misunderstood, though. It's that thick New Zealand accent. If you just listen to the apology again and pay attention, it does become clear.
I'm genuinely sorry if I gave that impression.
I meant to say that they should be gunned down while being whipped and pushed into holes where they can starve to death. Not that I think that should happen.
I tell you what, though, he's absolutely right, Paul Henry. He is. The problem we've got is we're too welcoming. We had 7,000 boat people turn up before August this year, and a number of them weren't real refugees.
And that makes Paul angry, so you can imagine how angry he must be that over 35,000 New Zealanders moved to this country for economic reasons over the same time period, and not one of them is a real refugee.
He must be furious.